got a wellness company and working with Sean Thompson and Instinct.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Do you guys talk about me?
all the time. That's all he talks about.
It's good.
So he's trying to sort of not do what Quicksilver and Billabong and all of the big brands did to sell out, and then the local sort of community abandoned them. If you look at the current WSL setup, I don't think there's a single surf brand that sponsors an event. It's like Lexus and Corona.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So he wants to sort of keep it core and keep it just, surfing apparel for surfers, and that's it.
I love that. Like, cause
Yeah.
where are all the surf brands right now? Like, I don't even know where they're at. Like, are they
I mean,
even?
I heard rumors that Quicksilver died and then
Yeah.
it's still around, but I don't know who bought it. And I know like Nike bought Hurley at one point, but then gave it back to Bob Hurley because they didn't know what to do with it. And I think they still are under that umbrella corporate wise. I'm not even sure what's going on with that. Gotcha died a death a while ago.
Yeah.
I heard Volcom's on the way out. I mean,
It's sad in a way.
I saw a thing that Rip Curl was doing like a going out of business sale.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw
you
that
know,
too. Because it's an era that I don't think it'll ever come back in the way it did, like the way it was.
hmm
Like, I don't think it. I like what Sean's doing, where he's really just focusing it on the core market and on
I
the.
think between the surf industry, just consumer base wise, like the surf industry, the skate industry, and the snow industry being cousins that they are, I think there's enough of a consumer base there to have a successful brand. That it doesn't need to go into like the Midwest or whatever, even though it could be something that, like, if we did something smart marketing wise, of like, have your college sorority girls wearing an Instinct hoodie going, I stole my boyfriend's hoodie or whatever. It's still like the boyfriend's attached to the action sports thing
Mm,
somehow.
yeah. When you say they're cousins, like what kind of cousins are they? Are they
Like
like
third twice
they cuddle
removed.
cousins?
No, they're not allowed to kiss.
Sorry for the sidetrack, but I was curious. I love that brand. I mean, and I still do. I like, that was where I started. I started with that brand. I started
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, I remember that.
My
And then you
home.
went off to counterculture and you
Then I
sponsored
did
me.
counterculture. That's right. Oh, that's amazing. Yes, it's so good. Yeah, counterculture was crazy too. Like that was a
Yeah.
moment where Brett and I were like, it just felt really good. We had a couple other brands too, but they were a little bit controversial. So we really were focusing on counterculture. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome. That brand was hot at one point. So
It
that
was
was like it
so
was
good. It had
that and
exactly the
Volcom.
right idea.
Yeah.
Like it didn't go quite too far down that road, like the Black Flies and
Yes.
those sort of guys, but it kept it just like the right sort of values of a surf brand, which is in the name. It's like, yeah, we're not crazy. We're not like in Vegas doing stupid things,
Yeah.
but we're also not like the flashy, glitzy Quicksilvers of the world.
It like also wasn't squarely in surf. It was more about the cousins, but
Yeah.
these were kissing cousins.
Yeah.
These cousins
Hand
never
holding
kissed.
cousins.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
kissing cousins.
that's true. That was one of the
Yeah.
early brands to really bridge that gap where
Mm.
before and it was the right time too, because like around the 90s, a lot of the surfers, especially like in the California and like the Momentum generation, all the guys in the Taylor Steele videos, they were all sort of leaning heavily into that like surf skate culture. That's where they kind of had the marriage.
Yeah.
And it became like surfers were wearing skate stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember, obviously coming out of that whole era and very much in the surf culture and the surf lifestyle. But I remember there was at the tail end of that, I definitely rebelled against that whole look and was very much more into that skate feel, wanted that edge. and would just shake my head at like the skaters, I mean the surfers, just as they just, and then like
I remember you wearing long chains out of your baggy
I
pants.
was wearing a couple chains. Yeah, I wore a couple chains. There
uh,
was a time I wore so many chains that I had a Zulu nickname called Maketang, which is chain in Zulu. That's how many
really?
chains. Yeah, that was my nickname, which I still hold. I still hold this brand because it sounds like Shane as well. Chain, Shane, and then I
Hmm.
was wearing chains.
It all makes sense.
It does. It's
My
beautiful.
Zulu name was Magangan,
What is Magungang?
naughty one.
So we were quite close. Maketang and Magungang.
Hmm.
I mean, we should get jackets made. I feel like
I mean,
we
yeah,
should get out there with
get that chain stitched on a
what do we
denim
do?
jacket, and we're in business.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Magungang.
that's cool. And you've got a history of working in like front lines video tech. I mean, with the interactive video stuff that you were working on years ago.
Yes, yeah. So the interactive stuff, I mean, I think it started even before then, like at least thinking in that way, or thinking and I think where my strength lies is in being able to tell stories or connect with people in ways that feel surprising and hopefully delightful through emerging tech, but in a way that is a little bit more meaningful. It's not just something that we just using like, hey, we should use VR because that's the hot thing
Right.
in like 10 years ago. But why should we use VR? Because there is good potential to do something really meaningful that utilizes the idea of I'm in a story and I can look around and what does that mean? Because too quickly, when you kind of capitalize on that tech for the idea, then it becomes a gimmick rather than let the idea have the tech as part of the DNA and
Yeah.
build something that's meaningful, you know? So, you know,
I think that's a like the most successful or the rather the people who pull it off the best are the ones who understand that story comes first and the delivery system comes second.
absolutely. I mean, that's how we live, right? We connect with story. We tell stories to each other constantly. And also whether you're building a brand, like a clothing brand, like with Instinct or even some of the other ones that we built, is we were telling a story that resonated with the culture of the people that wanted to identify with that brand. And if we were telling an authentic story, because I think that's also key, authentic to whatever you're doing, um, and that resonates with people, and then uses the technology to kind of drive it in a unique way, in a way that feels, oh my gosh, I couldn't tell that story without this technology. That's where it becomes, I think that's where you get lightning. And that's even with Exploding Kittens, for example. Exploding Kittens was, I mean, when I came up with it, it was with my old company that I had called Fantini, where we were doing a bunch of digital games. Created this demo of this game where I thought it would be good, but it was called Bada Boom, you know, terrible name. I mean, but we didn't think, to be fair, didn't think of a name. That was just what we were calling it, Bada Boom. And there was going to be gangsters, you know, that weren't, we hadn't got that far.
So
But that
how
was
did you pivot from that to kittens?
the other partner, Elan, went to go to Hawaii and he was playing because I put it on a deck of cards and we used to work together at Xbox Studios. And we were just playing it in the office. And it became like a very quickly became such a competitive environment. And people would just be coming the next day and just like throwing, like being very aggressive about what they want to do in the next game. And just knew that there was something magical there. And then he was taking it and taking a deck of cards and writing it and going to play it in other places. And he went to Hawaii where he met Matt, who did all the illustrations, the guy from the oatmeal. And while he was playing it, Elon called me from Hawaii and said, hey, Matt wants to be in on this, but he says you can't call it Bada Boom. You should call it Exploding Kittens. And then as soon as I heard that, I said, that's exactly what it should be called. Like that's where the story landed. So it was all Matt's idea in terms of, the name, which again was what created the lightning. I think if you went in with anything else, it wouldn't have landed the same way.
No,
Exploding
totally.
Kittens
But I
is
mean, it's
bizarre, but
all sort of like one thing feeds the other, and that you could apply that to a number of storytelling devices, like a screenplay that gets a new name that suddenly makes sense.
yeah.
But the script is the script, right? So like the story and the game and all of that together and the little tweaks that it's like it's so close, and then it takes a fresh set of eyes to go, no, you should call it Exploding Kittens.
Yeah, it definitely changed everything. And then that's when we knew, okay, we've got something here that I think is unique. We had the oatmeal who, had a strong following at that time and just knew, all right, it's worth taking a shot. Let's put it on for 10,000, say that's what we want to get, and then see what happens. And then it just within the first day we were at I want to say million the first day, maybe something like that. And then, like by the end
Unreal.
of it, just under 9 million. And we would just watch it just go up. It was crazy. And I had just started going back to interactive. I had just started in another company called Echo, which was the live action interactive company. We were making shows and movies and commercials that were like branching or had an interactive components. And I remember we were sitting in the office watching it, and the boss came in and said, like, you still going to stay with us, right? Just, I said, yeah, yeah. I wanted to go in that direction at that time. I had done games for a long time, and this was kind of a sideline thing that I didn't even think would take off like it did. So it wasn't where I was ultimately interested in. Even though I love games and I've got like another game here that I've like been working on and just like other stuff. It's always a fun thing, but it wasn't something at that time that I was really passionate about because I'd come from that and I was kind of burnt out in the game space. So interactive narrative was really where I was interested in. So that was what I was excited about, because I felt like that was the place where we could tell stories in new ways that could have the weight of what a movie or a TV show does to people just sitting on the couch, but you have agency in it and you take control of it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the reason why Dungeons and Dragons is still around today.
Yeah.
It's the user input, the gamer's contribution to the game and the story of the game.
Yeah, and you can do stuff. And again, we did a bunch of different things, everything from commercials with Echo, everything from commercials to we did a whole bunch of pilot shows and we did so many different things there. And we created and we even shot a bunch of stuff that's never come out and will never come out, unfortunately. And there was stuff there, that I still haven't seen now that has really taken that concept of choose your own adventure style live action narratives to the degree that I do think you can still take it. Like
Hmm.
Netflix, like I worked with Netflix on defining their interactive platform to a degree, right in the early days when they were just starting out. And they had done a bunch of stuff. The closest that I ever felt they got was with Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror episode that was interactive. But in that one, the first, I want to say 20 minutes of that is terrible. Like in terms of a choose your own adventure. Like your choices don't matter. There's no like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything substantial in that show. In the back half, it's way better and much more compelling. So if you're able to get through that first half and get to the back end, then it's really interesting and it branches out beautifully and there's multiple avenues you could go and it's really rich. But that first part going into it is absolutely terrible. And I think was the thing that didn't quite, I mean, even though I think that was their most successful, if I'm not mistaken, but didn't quite land that one as well because of that front end.
You said something a little bit earlier that made me want to ask you this question. I don't know if you've seen that interview. I think it's Rick Rubin, the music guy, where he talks about not considering the audience at all and just doing like creatively what it is that he wants to make. And then if they come along for the ride, the audience, then fantastic or whatever. And there's filmmakers that have similar views of, I think Spielberg talked about this, of like, make the film that you want to watch. I went to an event at Edelman about a week ago. It was a pre-sale event, and they were talking about like all of this research and like trust and credibility from the from a large segment of people who took part in this survey. Fascinating data sets, a lot of stuff of like makes total common sense of like, yeah, I would rather trust this than that, and like people who I view as more like me versus a commercial or an ad or something. And so there's this whole industry around finding out what an audience wants and what's going to resonate with the audience. There's also Rand Fishkin has a platform called SparkToro. It's an amazing audience listening tool. What's your view on like how do you walk that tightrope of like creating, being the creative and telling the story that you want to tell, but then also taking into account what's going to resonate with an audience? Or where do you land? Like, do you not consider the audience at all, or how do you feel about it?
I do consider the audience, but I consider the audience me in the context of this. So
Hmm.
I'm constantly trying to build for, like Steven Spielberg said earlier, for something that he wants to watch. That I want to build something that I want to play with. In fact, I don't want to build something that I want to play with. I want to build something that if I played it, I would be jealous that I didn't build it. That's
Mm.
what I'm constantly trying to do. And it's also the kind of people that I also try and surround myself with and work with are the people that I'm jealous about the stuff that they're doing. Those are the people I want to work with. I want to be like constantly going like, oh, okay, I don't have any of the answers anymore. I need to rethink everything. Or what you've done, I just want to do something like that or better. Like I want to constantly be challenged. So when thinking about a project, I do put that in my head. Like what would make me jealous if I saw it? Or and jealous is a strong word. What would me? I would just be jealous in a good way that I'm gonna just that's gonna be so inspiring that
Yeah,
I
like
just
what would inspire you and raise your
yeah
game?
that
Yeah.
that I would just like go, oh man, I want to do something like that.
Yeah, it's like going
Um,
on a surf trip with surfers who are as good or better than you.
yeah, it's like when we paddle out and you watch me surfing and you're like, damn it, I wish I could surf just a little bit like that. It's very
Hmm.
similar to that.
Hmm.
That's why we don't go surfing anymore, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
biting,
It's
biting my tongue so hard I might bite it off.
that's just what people have said. I don't know.
But to segue into very much like what you're saying, Steve Jobs talked about that in the early days of Apple. Is that if you build a room full of A players, very soon you're going to have an A team who doesn't want to play with B players
Yeah.
because all of the A players are raising the game of one another.
Yes, but yeah, so I think, but here's my thing is that I think it's not necessarily A players only that make me jealous. Like the B players can do something and come up with something that I'd be just as jealous of because I didn't think of it
Well,
because
how
it
would
was
I think that goes to how would you define an A player versus a B player?
correct. And I don't know how I would define an
Well,
A
to
player.
me, it's someone who's doing work of that caliber that inspires you to the degree that you want to raise your game. You know,
Yes, yes,
that
exactly.
to me would
That's
qualify as
exactly.
an A player.
Yes, yes, totally. So then I don't want any B players.
Yeah, no, no B players allowed.
No B players. I'll look at the C's. Don't even bring
I'll
me,
have very
don't
strong
bring me any
opinions
B's.
about them.
Yeah, but I'm also looking like I also want to work on stuff that I'm excited to work on that's like inspiring, I'm always trying to find a job that inspires me or I know that I can make a difference in or turn around, even if it's a particular company or something that has a foundation or a spark of an idea that I think is really interesting and that I think my employment there could help enhance it, hopefully. That's the kind of place I like to be at. Those are the kind of places I like to work at. Ones where I can make a difference and you could turn around and make something really unique in that company. But I need to be inspired.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of high frequency creative who lives on that like productivity is measured by contribution, but like also the quality of the creativity as well, and how that contributes to the overall project. Does it inspire you? Does it fulfill you? Like all of these things play into it. At least it does for me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the interactive, movie stuff and TV stuff, did so many cool stuff. Did this one pilot for Sony, which I still love, called EXP, and it's this idea where this you playing a video game, but you're controlling a live person, and you can make them do things, and you can make them say things, and you get these choices of the different things you get to say. But what happens very quickly, right up in the early part of the show, you realize that the kid like knows he's being controlled, or at least he suspects that he's being controlled. And just like plenty times in my life where I've said something and go, damn it, why did I say that? I didn't want to say that. We making choices for him that he's going, damn it, I didn't want to say that. Why did I say that? And then he starts to realize that somebody else is making those choices for him. And he creates this device that he breaks through, and you're able to have a conversation. He's able to converse with you directly. So you're busy playing, in the next minute, it's the fourth wall's broken, and he can now communicate with you, and you can communicate back with the character in the show. And what happens there is we start to like, and again, this happens right up front where he realizes he's being controlled, and that you're making choices for him, and that he's part of a game, but this is his real life. This is his world. Like, this is not a game for him. This is like how he lives. But for you, it's a game. And you have these really cool meta conversations about choice, freedom of will, self-control, lack of control. And you get into these really intimate and beautiful moments where the character can say to you, like, please, I don't want to do this one thing. But now you have context of, if he does that one thing, he's going to get hurt and he's going to be in trouble. But he doesn't have any of that context. And he's saying, please don't make me do that. And so now you have a choice. You can leave him and let him not do that, and then he's going to be happy with you, or you could force him to do something he's explicitly told you not to do, and it's going to be better for him in the long run, but now he's angry with you and your relationship is tethered. The idea of you actually being yourself in a game or a narrative where I am controlling somebody else, but I'm not playing somebody else, I'm playing me. And it becomes this buddy cop between you and a character in a show. In that kind of way is what I think there's something really interesting with that you can't do on just sitting back watching a show. And
They
you
should
can
use this
put
show as training for how to raise a teenager.
exactly. This is what's inspiring, right? I'm getting into that. I wish we did a
In
whole
the long
season,
run, I know this is better for you.
but they're not going to want it. You need to let them go. But then
Yeah.
what does that mean where they come back and it's devastating to them? And then they also say to you, why didn't you not make me do this? I hate that I did this. And like you said, well, at the end of the day, it's your will. Like, where does it all like lie? And I
Hmm.
love putting you in that position, putting the viewer in that position where you have to make those moral dilemmas. And there's no really right or wrong answer. You've just got to try and do what you think is best, which is parenting, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's interesting. I mean, it's a whole other category of entertainment where it's active entertainment and participation, or like viewer involved participation, right? Versus like, I just want to turn off my brain. I've had a long day. I just want to sit and watch a nature program, or where it becomes passive entertainment.
yeah.
But it's a whole other category.
It's a totally different category. And you've got to lean in. You can't straddle the line between the two. You have to be open about, what is your experience going to be. I think
Right.
that was the challenge that Netflix had, right? Netflix, I was built to understand how Netflix works. I sit on the couch, I watch something. It's a very lean back experience. And now you're engaging the audience to lean forward in a way that is also not familiar. It's a totally new way to do it, which I think is
Yeah.
great. And I love that they gave it a good go. I just wish they made shows that just took that mechanic and put it to the degree and used it in the way that I think it could be used, that had a much more engaging.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me like it should be its own section of the Netflix app, like Netflix Interactive or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if you mix it in with all of the others, you're going to get a
Like,
confusion
what is
of
happening? Yeah.
expectation. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. It need to be a full separate section. But anyway, I mean, it's still, I love that, you know, they were the ones that took a chance on it. They very much believed in it in that space. And I think still do, you know, it's just, you know, the kinds of shows that they need to get out there. I don't think they were able to get them out in time, you know.
Yeah.
I've been working for a company called the company's Toyota, but the thing that they're building is a thing called Woven City, which you can go and look at it. So this is something you can look online, and it's a futuristic city that they're building in Japan, and it's like insane what they're doing. And I've kind of been brought on to look at mobility within that city through the lens of, you know, emerging tech and AI and stuff like that.
Wow.
Uh, but it's like really what they're doing is incredible. It's like really the reinvention of the way we kind of, you know, move around, the way we engage in the city. Because the city, the premise of the city is that it's this working, functioning city where people live in it, but it has all the latest technology and it's built in like with all the latest tech.
Wow.
Um, and so it is really like a testing ground for cities for the future. Unbelievable. It's like Black Mirror, except not as dark and bleak, you know, much more positive and much like you, it's the black, like those episodes where you're like, oh, that would be great. It's
Hmm.
those episodes, not the other ones that
Right.
are terrible.
Yeah. Where everything falls
Um,
apart.
yeah,
Bad
where
things
everything
happen.
falls apart. This is a very positive. Think Star Trek, you know, very positive, and
Yeah.
less Star Wars and more Star Trek,
Right.
you know, in terms of
Yeah. Yeah.
positivity.
Did you
Um,
ever see, this was some time ago, I think it was near Naples, Florida. There was like a utopian town that was built. It was some like futurist guy who put this together and had like come up with the whole thing and wanted to like live off the grid and not be part of the banking system and like all of that stuff. So it came up with some very interesting ideas, obviously some overly idealistic setups. But it seems like what you're working on is a far more practical application of tech and futurism and sort of anticipating where we're going and what our needs will be.
That's exactly what it's like. That's what the it's like an incubator place where you can go and test something out and go, all right, this works here in this controlled environment. This could now be rolled out for global use. It's like really, and it's unbelievable. Just like amazing, amazing stuff that they're doing over there. It's like fantastic. And I'm just very lucky to be at least a very small part of it, but it's an insane project. But yes, yeah, it gives you an opportunity to test something out to see if it works before actually, you know, just rolling it out and hope for the best. I don't know if any of this was helpful for the podcast. But
100%. I'm going to chop this up and this is the idea though. It's just super informal chit chat, talking about fun things, you know, whatever the person's interested in. So
it's good to see you. Let's do another podcast next week.
fantastic. We could be the podcast like co-hosts.
Exactly, dude. I'll co-host with you. It'll be great.
Brilliant. We'll call it the Zulu Brothers.